Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report in a company introduction to Kincora Copper. We are chatting with the president and CEO, Sam Spring. The company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange and the ASX under the symbol KCC. Now, this is a prospect generator, copper focused, mostly focused in Australia. The company also has an exploration partnership with AngloGold Ashanti. In total, 8 projects, 7 in New South Wales. The company does have a Mongolian asset too. What I want here, Sam, is more for us to go through the company, talk about the assets that have work ongoing, especially the one with AngloGold Ashanti, but then also the other ones that you as a company are moving forward for potential other partnerships. So, Sam, let's just start off with the shift to the prospect generator model. Take us through when this happened and why you chose Australia to build up these portfolio of projects, please.
Yeah, no, thank you, Corey, for the opportunity. Kincora's been a pretty active porphyry explorer, originally in Mongolia, and then as you picked up the pivot to New South Wales. And we had a competitive advantage pivoting to New South Wales with John Holliday, our technical director based in the region, really being one of the foremost experts on New South Wales porphyries. John's probably best known for being credited with the origination and discovery phases of Cadia, which is the biggest porphyry in this belt, and obviously was Newcrest's flagship mine before Newmont acquired it. So we were able to pick up a really prospective portfolio of assets. And as you've sort of mentioned, we've changed our funding model in the more recent period. We were originally funding exploration at the equity level. We drilled over 30,000 metres in New South Wales, funding that at dilution at the top co, at the listed company level. In 2023, we were getting some good results at our flagship Trundle project, put another $1 million into that asset. And in a weak market, we just didn't move the needle in terms of share price or at the project level. And that's where we were getting interest from asset level funding partners. And that's where we changed the funding model to this hybrid prospect generator model.
Well, Sam, let's dig into some of the work that you're doing in New South Wales in the Macquarie Arc area. We've talked with Inflection Resources, also using a similar model there, right next door to a lot of your projects, and both of your companies are partnered with AngloGold Ashanti. Talk about the drilling going on there and talk about the potential for copper porphyry discoveries.
Yeah, and I guess what we've been doing with AngloGold Ashanti at what we call the Northern Junine Narromine Belt project has really been the most active program that we've had since we've changed our funding model. But I should also mention we've done a couple of deals with new generation tech explorers, with Fleet Space, Earth AI. And in the first 12 months of pursuing this model, we've had over 7 million of partner-funded drilling, 16,000 metres of drilling take place, and about 450,000 worth of management fees coming through. And those management fees are received for operating 2 of these earn-in deals that we've got with AngloGold Ashanti. And as we've just in the last month announced, we've had some really good results up at Nevertire South. We've got 5 licenses that are over 100 kilometre north-south strike, contiguous licenses that AngloGold Ashanti is earning in for. And coupled with what they've got with Inflection, which as you pick up is in some instances exploring literally next door, what we're looking for is a new province in the Macquarie Arc, the northern extension that goes undercover. You've got 160 million ounce gold equivalent resource inventory to the south, but these are volcanic arcs, and the magnetics and the gravity do a really good job at picking up these volcanic arcs. And as you go up to the north, potentially you've got the biggest part of the Macquarie Arc that just hasn't had that active systematic exploration that now is being done by AngloGold, both with Kincora and Inflection.
Okay, Sam, if you can just explain this a little bit more, because I understand that these projects, all within this AngloGold Ashanti exploration agreement, are connected. But as you said, there's 4, maybe 5 projects or licenses in total, and 2 different earn-ins signed here. So how does this all play out? What work needs to be done? Which are priorities? Just make a little more sense of this agreement.
Yeah, and there's 2 agreements. They mirror each other very similarly, Corey, in terms of the economic terms. In summary, AngloGold Ashanti can earn up to 80% in either of those 2 earn-ins for 50 million each. So cumulatively, Kincora potentially has exposure to the first 100 million being funded by AngloGold Ashanti. And obviously, if you get to that stage, you're onto something pretty significant. And really, what you're looking for in 100K north-south strike is not just one discovery or one deposit, is a series of these. And you can see down in the southern part of the belt that, say, Cadia Ridgeway, that sits over a 5.7K geological complex that you can see in the regional magnetics, the regional gravity. Within that, you've got 2 skarn deposits and 5 porphyry deposits. So what you're looking for is multiple complexes with multiple deposits within that framework that we've got with AngloGold Ashanti. And the drilling that we announced at Nevertire South late last year, which we're following up and infilling at the moment and stepping out from, really suggested that we're pretty close to where you want to be, and that offers multiple discovery opportunities. But at the same time, up at Ningen, which is considerably further up to the north, we've done 19 holes there with AngloGold Ashanti, and we need to go back there and follow up some interesting results and continue that program. But the key when you're looking at a belt scale opportunity this size and at this stage is having the right partner and the right earning deal. Otherwise, dilution would be pretty prohibitive for a junior to be doing this all by itself.
Sam, I think that's such a key point you just made, because a junior trying to drill these deeper porphyries would run out of cash flow pretty quickly. And so it'd be a dilutive exercise. By having the partners and using the prospect generator model and having a senior producer in there like AngloGold Ashanti, it just gives you the firepower to go after some of these targets. For people that aren't familiar with copper porphyries, they come in clusters, as you mentioned. But just talk about the size of the prize here. You mentioned Cadia. Maybe give people that aren't geologists and don't follow this how big these prizes can be and why a major is in there partnering with you in the first place.
Yeah, and what you're looking for in this belt is a Cadia scale deposit or a North Parks or a Cal. And we were just talking off mic about Cal. I mean, Cal was Evolution Mining, which is an Australian gold miner with over 30 billion market cap. It's its flagship asset. It bought that project from Barrick back in 2015 and took a 3.4 million ounce ore body to now 14. And it's in production, and the last December quarter was producing $3 million of cash flow a day. And we've been very fortunate picking up ground in that Cal area immediately adjacent to that world-class asset. North Parks just got bought by Evolution recently. It's already got 24 million ounce gold equivalent resource inventory. It's the second biggest copper porphyry mine in Australia behind Cadia. Our Trundle asset sits, we think, in the rifted off section of that. So what you're looking for is big prizes here. And I guess in a downturn market, copper porphyry projects are really hard for juniors to be able to fund because they take time. They're generally capital intensive. But if you look in the New South Wales region, you've had Waratah make a good discovery. It went from a 30 million market cap this time last year to over 200 now. They raised $30 million in the last 12 months as well. More recently, only in January, you had Link Minerals go from a 30 million market cap to over 100 further south. So discoveries and good exploration success is getting rewarded in this market in New South Wales, which is making us revisit our portfolio and looking at, can we be hitting some of our existing flagship assets harder, which of these sort of projects we haven't been on the ground doing work just because of the nature of the market and access to capital and the cost of capital.
So has there been a discovery on, let's still stick with these AngloGold Ashanti exploration partnership projects. Has there been a discovery here where you find the companies really focusing in and around it, or is it still very much exploration discovery focused across all these licenses?
It's really the latter, Corey. What we're seeing at Nevertire South, we think, is the most advanced of the northern Macquarie Arc projects. We're seeing signs that you're in a potentially proximal environment, and that's where we're really excited to be following those up right now with step-out drilling. We found a brand new complex that has the right hallmarks, it's got the right features. If you were to use Cadia Ridgeway as an analogue, and you'll see in our most recent exploration update, we sort of compared the grades that we're seeing in our drilling relative to what the discovery phases of Cadia were. It suggests that you're potentially close to one or multiple new discoveries, but that's the really exciting phase that we're at, where we're drilling, and obviously exploration success of making a new discovery of that scale would be extremely well rewarded. But we've got the partner that's likewise very excited by what we're doing. And the nice thing about this prospect generator model is it takes some of that technical nuance away from your investor. You just need to be able to look at it and say, is this project accelerating? Is the partner excited about what they're seeing? They've got the ability to go out to the field, help us technically, provide the capital, and probably the best way to sum it up in terms of AngloGold is with Inflection and with Kincora, they've put $20 million to date into this Northern Junee Narromine Belt strategy. 4.5 million of that with Kincora so far, and I'm pretty sure that this target that we've got is certainly right up there with some of the best drilling results that they've seen to date, and we've put a $7 million budget to them for calendar year 2026. So you can see that momentum and positive spend and increased expenditure, and obviously that means increased management fees to us as being the operator receiving a 10% fee on expenditure.
Yeah, nice to get that management fee. Nice to have help on the funding, but also, as you mentioned, nice to have their technical expertise they bring in and the brain trust, the sharing of ideas. So definitely we'll keep following along with all of the drilling going on in this area. But let's pivot over to the other two projects you mentioned with Fairholme and Trundle. Trundle being by North Parks and Fairholme being by Cowell, both huge mines for Evolution Mining, as you laid out there, with 14 million ounces and 24 million ounces respectively. You've got properties right adjacent to that, and these are ones that you just raised some capital for to drill on your own to try to bring in some more interest. So talk about the drilling that'll go on at these two projects.
Yeah, and I guess these are big projects, and they have attracted partners in the past. Fairholme, the last group there was Kaizen Discovery, which is now Ivanhoe Electric. At Trundle, the last group exploring in was High Powered Exploration, HPX, which is also the vehicle that became Ivanhoe Electric. And before that, you've had Newcrest and all the other majors that have explored these projects, and they've got big existing mineral footprints, analogues to the neighbouring world-class mines. And in sort of Fairholme's example, you're immediately adjacent to Cowell, and then on the other side, you've got Newmont earning in with an Aussie-listed junior as well. So they're projects that, for us, we feel very comfortable that it's a matter of when, not if, that we're able to get a partner in there, particularly with the commodity cycle and the majors returning to growth and increasingly looking to outsource exploration via doing earn-in type deals with juniors. But this capital raising that we just closed last week gives us the ability to get on the ground, add some value, and not be just beholden to those conversations, and try and give us the best opportunity to get the best deal with those sort of majors that we're in conversations with. There's 3 gold majors that have been out to site, done positive technical reviews. There's a diversified major, and we're in that stage of conversations of trying to bed that down, bearing in mind most of these groups have calendar year budgets and just understanding what their budgets are at the moment. So this fundraising helps us get on the front foot there and try and extract value from a couple of these flagship assets that really within our portfolio have been sitting there as sleepers and not having any value ascribed to them.
So what does the work look like? What drilling are you going to do? How much money are you going to spend? How many holes are you going to get? How many targets are you going to test? Give us all the information, please.
Really good question, Corey. And some of that will be work in progress. We've appointed an independent geologist who actually did a positive review for one of these majors that has done technical DD, and we're in ongoing conversations for. He's in the back end of completing his review for Fairholme and also for Trundle, which will come through with a whole heap of budgets, work programs, and recommendations, which will be, in a first instance, getting as much out of the existing geology and geophysical data sets as possible, but then looking to come in and do further drilling. So those work programs are funded. That's some news flow that I'd expect you to be seeing in the nearer term coming up. But I guess in the meantime, we will be next month going out and drilling our Condobolin project. Our Condobolin asset sits in the Cobar Basin, where you've seen Harmony come in and take out MAC Copper for over $1 billion. Only in the last month, you've seen Arius do a deal with Peel for trucking ore to their existing mill. Our Condobolin asset's a historical mining field that we've consolidated. There's a good discovery that was made last commodity cycle that hasn't been followed up. And the interesting thing about how do you add value as a junior explorer to that project is it's within trucking distance to an existing mill seeking third-party ore. So it doesn't have the capital or the time horizons like a big porphyry project does for how do you monetize that and add value for shareholders. So in terms of keeping an eye out for news flow, Corey, I suspect that's probably one that we should be at drilling next year and people should keep on the radar.
All right, so a little bit more drilling at that project too. And you have other projects we haven't gotten into yet, Sam. I even looking on this map, I'm seeing, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Gemelong is right by the Fairholme as well. And you have other projects in the stable that you have value that's sitting there latent, like you say. So maybe just talk about the wider package of projects and how there's still more optionality in the portfolio.
There is, and I guess we very much want to stick to this hybrid prospect generator model. We don't want to be doing the bulk of exploration ourselves, even though with this financing that we've just done, we'll have $7.5 million in the bank. What we want to be able to do is leverage those partner conversations. Gemelong is an interesting asset. We've just consolidated the adjacent ground to it. In the next week, we should be announcing that we're on the ground doing a ground gravity survey, and there's also conversations with a potential partner there, another new generation tech explorer that I expect will come through. And it's again looking at all of those assets within the portfolio and with the technical team that we've got, sitting down and going, how do we add value to all those? How do we systematically advance that? Is that geophysics? Is it drilling? Is it doing a deal? And having a very clear strategy for how you unlock that, because this way you have multiple shots on goal. In the first 12 months of pursuing this model, we drilled 7 different licenses. I'd expect that number will increase, and getting those odds of discovery in your favour for any one of those projects being able to give you that asymmetric return profile and material upside. And all the deals that we do, even though there's no cookie cutter approach for how we look to bring in a partner, all leave us with material upside if we have exploration success. So in terms of those sleepers out there, Corey, we sort of had that conversation with Rick Rule and Jeff Phillips recently before the VRIC conferences. And one of the key items of feedback that we were discussing was, in this market, what could we be doing to accelerate and hit our project portfolio harder? The market's changed, as touched by Waratah and Link. Juniors in this belt are getting rewarded. How do we, and our cost of capital's changed, as evidenced by the financing we did last week. How do we hit this portfolio even harder? And assets that are just sitting there in terms of not getting value ascribed to them by the market at the moment, how do we make those more visible?
So go further with that, Sam. What are you going to do then? You just raised this money, fine, I guess ramping up work programs. But yes, right now this story is about what's going on with AngloGold Ashanti, but then also bringing in other projects. So what was the conclusion of that conversation?
Well, exactly. Do the financing that we've just done, be able to expand the drilling program that will kick off next month at our Condobolin asset, get on the field, do further work with Trundle and Fairholme, big brownfield projects. Again, more news flow to come on those in the near term. Get on the ground, commence this geophysical survey and a new partnership for our Gemelong asset. And then I guess another sort of significant asset of ours that we haven't touched on is our Mongolian assets, which were back in the day the flagship project of the company. And I think we're just going through getting a second mining license. There's a big JORC resource up there, an oxide component on that, which looks pretty good at the current copper price. Look to extract value from Mongolia. So I guess really it is a portfolio approach there, Corey, and it's trying to accelerate what we're looking to do across those 8 different assets. But at the same time, are there other opportunistic assets that we could pick up that we've got a competitive advantage to add value to?
Talk to us about that Mongolian asset. You said there's a JORC resource on it. That's in a way kind of the Australian equivalent of a resource estimate, but a little bit looser from my understanding. What is that JORC resource? How much work has been done on the Mongolian assets? What more can you do there?
So there's an existing mining license, and then there's an adjacent exploration license. And the 2 licenses cover what's called the Bronze Fox Intrusive Complex. On the exploration license, there's also another intrusion called the Tourmaline Hills Intrusive Complex, where there's informal gold mining operations quite often. And then there's a third completely untested complex called Shooteen North, which we think might be related to the biggest lithocap in the Southern Gobi. Getting a second mining license, as we're going through the final processes for at the moment, unlocks the ability to look at that big low-grade porphyry resource that we've got. There's 400,000 tonnes of copper, 400,000 ounces of gold sitting in that total resource. There's an oxide component within that has a potentially attractive strip ratio, and we're just updating the desktop economics to that at the moment. Within the wider district, you've obviously got a few major projects. You've got Oyu Tolgoi, which is Rio Tinto's biggest non-iron ore growth project. You've got Sabin Savaga, which is a private construction project, $1 billion capex, where the oxide project's being built at the moment. And then Xanadu Mines, which was ASX and TSX listed, just got bought out last year by a private group at its Karmatai project. So there's a lot of activity going on within the Southern Gobi. I guess until we get the second mining license, it's been a little bit of a sleeper, but I'm positive that in the next quarter we should have a pretty positive outcome for our Mongolian assets.
So you mentioned your conversation with Rick Rule and Jeff Phillips. They are shareholders. They bought in kind of middle of last year. They're supporters of the show. Jeff has brought it up a couple times on our show when we've had him on. What brought them into the play? Give us more of a background here.
Yeah, and it was, I guess, a really good opportunity to engage with we're dual listed, as you picked up in your intro. It was good to re-engage with the North American capital market and get Rick and Jeff on board. We were able to do a financing 4 million Canadian with a 12-month hold period, which is pretty unusual. And that was really architected and led by Rick and Jeff. And we also did a rollback, even including the financing that we've just done. There's 47.4 million shares outstanding. So it's a tight structure, but also you've got a tight shareholder ownership. There's less than 50% free float in terms of there's reporting insiders that are on the board that are about 25% of the register. You've got Jeff and Rick's group that are 12-month lockup, a bit over 25% of the register as well. But what attracted them to us was where we were at executing in terms of our hybrid prospect generator model. We'd done 5 deals that unlocked potentially over 100 million of partner funding. We were just ramping up and seeing exploration resuming. As mentioned, the 12 months to September last year, 16,000 metres of partner funded drilling, 7 different licenses being drilled, 7 million of partner funded drilling. So that's what really attracted them to us with the technical team and the board that we've got and reporting insiders and good alignment. And that 12-month capital that they provided us really gave us a strategy of how do we try and advance the initial couple of flagship assets within that portfolio. And I guess obviously the financing that we've just done means that we can accelerate and bring in the tail and some more of those assets.
Sam, let's also talk about the team. It's your first time on the show, so please, little background on you and anybody else, part of your team that you can highlight for us that's helping lead some of the work and even some of those project acquisitions that you talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I guess I would join Kincora over a decade ago originally to help run an exit strategy for the Mongolian assets, and hopefully we do have that in the next 6 months. But the technical team that we've got is really strong. We've touched on John Holliday just before, but he's complemented by our VP of Exploration, Peter Lehman. Peter's probably best known for the Ricco Dick discovery. He was involved with a number of significant copper-gold discoveries while at BHP. He was then with Panost when before the Chinese Grams acquired that. So 2 sort of senior guys that are driving our technical strategy that have found tier 1 copper gold assets before. In terms of the rest of the board, there's strong insider ownership, as I sort of touched on. You've got the Bloomfield Group, which is our largest shareholder, with their Chief Operating Officer, Luke Murray, on the board. Bloomfield is a family office with 2 operating mines in New South Wales. You've got RareX being represented by James Durant. RareX is an ASX-listed company with a sort of a significant stake in us. And then Cameron McRae, our chairman, 28 years at Rio, probably best known in the Canadian markets at the moment for being on the board of Erdene Resource Development, which has just got a really good open-cut gold operation in Mongolia into production. But Cameron's more at the big end of town, having developed operational projects in 4 different continents when at Rio.
All right. Well, Sam, final question, something I always like to ask companies, especially when first bringing them on, is the market cap right now for this company, right around $70 million Canadian. Talk to us about how you view how investors should look at that $70 million valuation in terms of your peers and in terms of just what the company has asset-wise.
Yeah, and I guess should also mention that with this financing, Corey, we'll have about $7.5 million in the bank, so a pretty good cash position there. But in terms of how do you value those 8 different assets, obviously it's a moving feast, and I think the best way I try and break that down is that you've got Inflection, which is a really good peer with a partnership with AngloGold Ashanti. I think we're getting good value being recognised for what we're doing with AngloGold. What we're now, through this financing, trying to unlock is Trundle and Fairholme. Trundle, previously, when we were drilling there, getting good results in a good market, was our flagship asset that was underpinning a 50 million market cap on its own. Mongolia, back in the day, when we were having good results there and drilling there, was supporting a 50 million market cap on its own. I think the work programs that this capital provides us is going to enable us to unlock value that's currently sitting there without being recognised. Obviously, some of the parts valuations you always get a discount for, but the key thing is having those catalysts with drill programs or value milestones to unlock those. And I think that's where, with drilling at Condobolin, drilling ongoing with AngloGold Ashanti, work being proposed at Gemelong and Trundle, Fairholme, and the Mongolian assets, that there is a very strong pipeline of catalysts and news flow there for investors.
All right. Again, Sam Spring, President and CEO of Kincora Copper. I'll post a link to the company's website. Click that link, look at the company's corporate presentation, and please send me and Chad any questions you have for Sam, and happy to get those addressed for you. And Sam will bring you back on the show probably in about a month's time just to recap the work that's ongoing. So thanks for the update. Thanks for the introduction today.
Fantastic to be on. Thank you, Corey.